Picture medieval Europe. Narrow, muddy streets, stone walls, bustling markets. Popular culture paints a grim picture of this era, with scenes of relentless torture and public executions, petty criminals strung up for stealing bread, villagers burned at the stake for minor offenses, and brutal punishments for even the smallest disobediences. But here's the twist. These tales aren't exactly accurate. In reality, medieval justice was far more nuanced, with executions reserved for society's most severe threats. Hangings, not daily spectacles, were used sparingly, and only the gravest offenses, murder, treason, and even arson, met with such harsh ends. Let's cut through the myths to uncover what actually happened in medieval courts and squares. First, it's important to understand that medieval justice wasn't as chaotic as it's often portrayed. Execution wasn't a routine punishment, but rather a solemn event for high-level crimes that destabilized society. Crimes like murder or treason targeted the community's stability itself, which the law sought to protect fiercely. Even burning at the stake, widely believed to be a common sentence for heretics, wasn't frequently used. This punishment became associated with heresy only around the 15th century, and even then, it was reserved for cases deemed particularly dangerous to church authority. When it came to heresy, early punishments varied significantly. Executions were rare, with many heretics facing fines, exile, or forced penance instead. And for lesser crimes, public executions were hardly a default. Most offenders saw the inside of a pillory, placed in the town square, sometimes marked with signs declaring their crimes. This punishment aimed at public humiliation, not bodily harm. It reminded the townsfolk of the law but didn't leave lasting wounds. For smaller offenses, medieval authorities often relied on fines, exile, or even property confiscation. In an era where social ties and community standing were vital, a financial penalty could sting deeply without causing physical harm. Repeated offenses, however, might result in banishment, a fate as isolating as any physical punishment, especially in a world where one's survival depended on belonging. Even more severe crimes didn't always end in death. The common hangman's noose, as grim as it sounds, was often seen as a last resort. Skilled executioners, known in their communities, rarely wore the hoods we see in modern depictions. They carried out their duties publicly, and a beheading was reserved for high-status criminals, providing them a more honorable end than hanging. However, even this could go awry. Without today's surgical precision, a clean beheading wasn't guaranteed, and a single missed swing could leave the crowd and executioner alike facing a tense, botched scene. Contrary to dramatic depictions, medieval justice wasn't the work of unchecked, untrained executioners or arbitrary courts. By the 12th and 13th centuries, universities began teaching law, signaling an era where medieval societies took jurisprudence seriously. Judges were often educated, and city courts had structured procedures that balanced mercy and order. Torture, while occasionally used, wasn't a free-for-all either. It was regulated and typically applied in cases involving high-level crimes or repeated offenses. And let's set aside another myth. The infamous Iron Maiden is a 19th century invention, with no solid evidence of its use in medieval Europe. While torture devices existed, the medieval justice system had limits. Medieval justice had structure and, surprisingly, a measure of mercy. The laws focused on maintaining societal order and deterring future crimes, often through penalties that allowed offenders a second chance. Fines, pillories, and even exile served as effective methods to uphold the law without extreme violence. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment with your thoughts. See you in the next one.